Okay, so you want to own a jewelry business. You walk into a jewelry store on a Saturday afternoon. The displays are immaculate. Diamond rings glisten under carefully positioned lighting. Gold chains hang in neat rows. Watches are displayed on individual stands. Customers are browsing. Some are trying on rings. Some are asking about pricing. A single customer transaction is often $2,000 to $10,000. A customer buying an engagement ring might spend $5,000 to $15,000 on a single purchase. A customer buying a luxury watch might spend $8,000 to $25,000. The store does maybe 50 transactions per month. At an average transaction of $3,000, that's $150,000 in monthly revenue. The cost of goods sold seems manageable. A diamond ring that sells for $5,000 might cost the jeweler $2,500 to $3,500 in materials and manufacturing. The margin looks enormous. It sounds like owning a license to print money with high-value transactions. It sounds like owning a jewelry business in 2000 when people bought jewelry for occasions and special moments, when engagement rings were non-negotiable, when luxury jewelry was a status symbol, and anyone with decent inventory and a retail location was generating solid margins. That is exactly the comparison people are making right now. The jewelry industry in the United States generates over $80 billion annually in retail sales. There are over 30,000 jewelry retailers. The luxury jewelry market is growing. Millennials and Gen Z are increasingly buying fine jewelry for themselves, not just receiving it as gifts. Customization and personalized pieces are commanding premium pricing. Online jewelry sales are growing 15% to 20% annually. The market seems open and the opportunity seems endless. But here's what is actually happening on the ground, inside jewelry businesses when the cameras are off and the actual inventory and financial statements are open. The reality of owning a jewelry business is completely different from what the headline numbers suggest. Some jewelry business owners are genuinely making money. Many are barely surviving. And a significant number are quietly hemorrhaging cash while watching inventory depreciate. The gap between the three groups comes down to a handful of things that almost nobody explains before you invest in inventory and sign a retail lease. By the end of this, you will know exactly where the money comes from, where it disappears to, what the hidden costs really are, and what separates the jewelry businesses that thrive from the ones where owners are losing money on depreciating inventory while paying rent on empty stores. What a jewelry business actually sells. The illusion of margin. People assume that owning a jewelry business means you're selling jewelry. You are. But that's not where the profit comes from. If you're selling jewelry at standard retail markups, the margins look impressive on a price tag and evaporate in actual operations. A diamond ring with a cost of $3,000 and a selling price of $7,500 shows a 150% markup. Sounds phenomenal until you subtract the costs that people don't count. What a jewelry business actually sells is trust, expertise, and the emotional validation that comes with a significant purchase. The customer isn't buying a diamond. The customer is buying certainty that the diamond is real, that the price is fair, and that they're making a good decision on an emotionally significant purchase. This is crucial. The jewelry customer doesn't shop on price alone. They shop on trust in the jeweler. They want to know the jeweler understands diamonds, can explain quality differences, and won't rip them off. Customers will pay premium prices to jewelers they trust over discount jewelers they don't. But building trust takes years. It requires consistent presence in the community. It requires expert staff who can educate customers. It requires a reputation for fair dealing. It requires handling customer service problems excellently when they occur. This trust is the only sustainable competitive advantage in jewelry retail. But here's where the economics turn brutal. Building trust while managing inventory investment is structurally difficult. You need to invest in diverse, high-quality inventory to attract customers with different preferences. A single ring won't do it. You need hundreds of styles, dozens of metals, hundreds of stone combinations. But most inventory won't sell. It will sit in cases for months. It will depreciate. It will eventually need to be marked down. You're funding customer choice by paying for inventory that most customers never buy. The full upfront investment, what actually costs money. Everyone talks about the inventory cost. Nobody talks about everything else that eats capital before you open the doors. Retail space lease and build out, $40,000 to $150,000. A jewelry store needs a premium location with foot traffic. Ground floor. Visible signage. Safe neighborhood with wealthy demographics. Commercial rent for jewelry retail is $3,000 to $10,000 per month depending on location. First month, last month, and security deposit consume $9,000 to $30,000. Build-out requires security systems, lighting, display cases, safes, and vault construction. Professional display case installation costs $30,000 to $80,000. Security system with 24/7 monitoring, $5,000 to $15,000. Vault installation if you're storing valuable inventory, $20,000 to $50,000. Safe for daily operations, $2,000 to $8,000. Initial inventory, $100,000 to $500,000. This is the largest upfront capital requirement. A jewelry store needs inventory diversity to attract customers. Diamond rings in various grades and sizes, 50 to 100 pieces at $1,500 to $8,000 each equals $75,000 to $800,000. Gold chains and bracelets, 50 to 100 pieces at $500 to $3,000 each equals $25,000 to $300,000. Gemstone jewelry, 30 to 50 pieces at $1,000 to $5,000 each equals $30,000 to $250,000. Watches, 10 to 20 pieces at $2,000 to $15,000 each equals $20,000 to $300,000. Vintage or specialty pieces, $10,000 to $100,000. A properly stocked jewelry store has $150,000 to $500,000 in inventory. This is cash tied up. This is not producing revenue yet. This is depreciating if not sold. Point of sale and technology, $15,000 to $40,000 jewelry-specific POS system. Credit card processing setup. Inventory management software. Gemstone identification tools. Customer relationship management. Website development if you're selling online too. Insurance, $5,000 to $15,000 per year. Jeweler's block insurance covering inventory, tools, and liability. This is expensive because jewelry is high value and theft prone. Professional services, $5,000 to $15,000 legal consultation for business structure. Accounting setup. Tax planning. Display and fixtures, $20,000 to $50,000 lighting. Display cases beyond the security cases. Mirrors. Shelving. Professional presentation requires investment. Permits and licenses, $2,000 to $8,000 business license. Sales tax permit. Jewelry seller certification in some states. Depending on location, additional permits may be required. Marketing and grand opening, $10,000 to $40,000 local advertising. Grand opening promotions. Website launch. Social media setup. Building initial customer awareness. Staff training and initial operations, $20,000 to $50,000 training jewelry specialists on product knowledge, customer service, and sales. Initial payroll while ramping up operations. The real total investment. For a legitimate jewelry retail business, the total upfront investment ranges from $250,000 to $750,000. Most of this is inventory capital that must be financed or funded from personal savings. A jewelry store with $400,000 in upfront investment needs to generate significant revenue just to break even on that investment across reasonable payback periods. Where the money actually goes, the operating cost reality. Once you're open, the costs don't pause. They accelerate. And this is where the jewelry business reveals why margins disappear. Rent, 8% to 15% of revenue, typically 12%. A 2,000 square foot jewelry store at $5,000 per month is standard. If your jewelry business generates $50,000 per month in revenue, rent is 10%. If it generates $25,000 per month, rent is 20%. Rent is your largest fixed cost, and it doesn't decrease if sales decline. Labor, 15% to 25% of revenue, realistically 20% to 35%. A jewelry store needs knowledgeable staff. A jewelry specialist earning $50,000 to $80,000 per year. You probably need 2 to 3 staff members for a full-time operation. That's $100,000 to $240,000 per year in labor. Add payroll taxes and benefits, and it reaches $120,000 to $280,000. On a $50,000 monthly revenue, that's 24% to 56% of revenue in labor costs. This is brutally high. Cost of goods sold, 45% to 65% of revenue, typically 55% the diamonds, gold, gemstones, and labor to create or acquire the pieces you sell. A ring that sells for $5,000 has a COGS of $2,500 to $3,500. A chain that sells for $1,200 has a COGS of $600 to $800. Across your inventory, 55% of revenue goes to acquiring the goods you sell. Insurance, 2% to 4% of revenue. Jewelers' block insurance is expensive. On $50,000 monthly revenue, insurance is $1,000 to $2,000 per month. Utilities, $500 to $1,500 per month. Retail lighting in jewelry stores is intense. Specialized lighting costs money. Climate control for stone preservation. Standard utilities for the space. Credit card processing, 2% to 3% of revenue. Most jewelry transactions are card-based. Processing fees add up. On $50,000 monthly revenue, that's $1,000 to $1,500. Marketing and advertising, 3% to 8% of revenue. Building customer awareness requires ongoing marketing. Local advertising. Social media. Google Ads. Jewelry is not an impulse purchase. Customers need to know you exist and be reminded you're there. Professional services, $500 to $1,500 per month. Accounting. Tax consultation. Legal matters. Miscellaneous and contingency, 5% of revenue. Equipment repairs. Unexpected costs. Buffer for uncertainty. The monthly revenue and cost reality for a typical jewelry business. A jewelry store averaging $40,000 in monthly revenue, approximately 13 transactions per month at $3,000 average revenue, $40,000 cost of goods sold, 55%, $22,000, gross profit, $18,000 rent, 12%, $4,800, labor, 28%, $11,200, insurance, 3%, $1,200, utilities, $800, credit card processing, 2.5%, $1,000, marketing, 5%, $2,000, professional services, $600, miscellaneous, 3%, $1,200, total operating costs, $22,800, net operating profit, $4,800, annual operating loss, $57,600. This jewelry store with $40,000 in monthly revenue is losing nearly $60,000 per year. The model isn't profitable. What jewelry business owners don't account for: the inventory trap. The math above assumes your inventory is turning over. In reality, most jewelry inventory doesn't sell. Dead inventory. You buy 100 diamond rings to give yourself options. Only 30 sell within a year. The other 70 are sitting in cases, depreciating. Diamonds don't depreciate. The wholesale price of diamonds is lower than the retail price you paid. If you need to liquidate that inventory, you're taking losses. Dead inventory consumes capital without generating revenue. Discounting and markdowns. The diamond ring you bought for $3,000 with the intention of selling for $7,500 doesn't sell. After 6 months, you mark it down to $6,500. After 9 months, you mark it down to $5,500. Eventually you sell it for $5,000, losing $2,000 on the transaction. This is the dirty secret of jewelry retail. Much of your inventory sells at a loss because it doesn't match customer demand. Currency and metal price volatility. Gold prices fluctuate. Silver prices fluctuate. If you buy gold at $1,800 per ounce and gold drops to $1,600, your entire gold inventory depreciates. A 10% drop in gold prices can wipe out months of profit. Customer returns and exchanges. A customer buys a ring for $5,000. 2 weeks later they change their mind, or the sizing is wrong. You take it back and issue a refund or exchange. You now have used inventory that you have to resell at a discount. You've taken a loss on the transaction. Theft and shrinkage. Jewelry is easily stolen. Employees steal. Customers steal. Insurance covers some of it but not all. Industry estimates suggest 1% to 3% of jewelry inventory is lost to theft annually. On $400,000 in inventory, that's $4,000 to $12,000 per year in pure loss. Seasonal fluctuations. Engagement ring sales spike around Valentine's Day and during the December holiday season. Sales are slow in summer. Your fixed costs don't decrease in summer. Rent is still due. Labor is still due. You're losing money in slow months. The jewelry business that actually works financially. You specialize in custom jewelry design. This creates differentiation and reduces dead inventory. You build a reputation for quality craftsmanship. Customers come to you for custom pieces. You work on a design first, inventory second model. You pre-sell pieces before you manufacture them. Revenue becomes more predictable. You generate $60,000 per month in revenue. Operating costs are $45,000, COGS at 45% instead of 55% because you're eliminating retail markup, labor at 25% because you're focused, and other costs optimized. Net profit, $15,000 per month. Annual profit, $180,000. Now the jewelry business works. Alternatively, you own a jewelry business in a high-traffic tourist destination. Your store does $80,000 per month in revenue from high-volume, lower-margin items. Operating costs are proportionally higher but overall profit margin is positive. Net profit, $8,000 per month. Annual profit, $96,000. You're making money. The bad scenario, the more common outcome: you open a traditional jewelry store in a secondary retail location. Your marketing reach is limited. Foot traffic is moderate. You carry $400,000 in inventory hoping to attract diverse customer preferences. You generate $35,000 per month in revenue. Operating costs exceed $38,000 per month. You're losing $3,000 per month. Your inventory is depreciating. You're consuming capital. By month 12, you've lost $36,000. By month 24, you've lost $72,000 and you still have $350,000 tied up in slow-moving inventory that's worth significantly less than you paid. You're forced to liquidate. You take 30% to 40% losses on remaining inventory. Total damage, $150,000 to $200,000 on your original investment. The hidden cost nobody discusses. Customer acquisition and lifetime value. A new jewelry customer acquisition costs $300 to $800 through advertising. But jewelry customers don't make purchases frequently. An engagement ring is a one-time major purchase. A watch might be a one-time major purchase. Some customers never return. Your CAC, customer acquisition cost, is high relative to purchase frequency. You need repeat customers. You need to build relationships that generate referrals. You need customers who recommend you to friends and family. The jewelry business owner who builds a strong community and reputation can generate 30% to 50% of new business from referrals. The jewelry owner who relies on paid advertising or foot traffic alone is constantly spending on acquisition with no compound benefit. The online jewelry disruption. This is where the jewelry retail business is getting structurally disrupted. Online jewelry marketplaces like Blue Nile, James Allen, and others have decimated traditional retail jewelry margins. A diamond ring that sells for $7,500 at a retail jewelry store sells for $4,500 to $5,500 online. The online business has lower overheads so they can offer lower prices. Customers now shop online before visiting a local jeweler. By the time they come to you, they've already learned about the product and negotiated themselves into a corner on price. Traditional jewelry retail survives only by differentiating on expertise, custom design, and personal service. A jeweler who just stocks generic inventory and sells at retail prices is competing with the internet and losing. Conclusion: the actual economics of jewelry business ownership. Owning a jewelry business is not a passive income business. It's a capital-intensive business where inventory is your inventory risk and customer relationships are your profit driver. Most traditional jewelry retail is unprofitable at standard operating models. The money in jewelry goes to four groups. First, diamond suppliers and wholesalers who capture margin on distribution. Second, jewelry manufacturers who add value through craftsmanship. Third, customers who understand jewelry and can differentiate quality from marketing. Fourth, jewelry business owners who've built strong community relationships and reputation, reduced inventory risk through specialization or custom design, or operated in high-traffic tourist destinations. The separation between jewelry businesses that thrive and those that fail comes down to decisions made before you ever stock inventory. Location selection in high-foot traffic areas with wealthy demographics. Business model design focused on custom work or specialization rather than generic retail. Customer acquisition strategy focused on building community and generating referrals rather than relying on paid advertising. Inventory management that reduces dead inventory and markdowns through data-driven purchasing. A jewelry business in a premium location, specializing in custom design, building a reputation for craftsmanship and fair dealing, can generate genuine returns. A jewelry business stocking generic inventory in a secondary location, competing on price with online retailers, will lose money. The jewelry industry is 30% margin on the headline but 15% to 25% margin in reality after you account for inventory shrinkage, markdowns, dead inventory, and operational costs. And that's before debt service. Most jewelry retailers operate at 5% to 10% net margins. On a $400,000 investment, a 7% net margin generates $28,000 per year in profit, a 7% return on capital. This is below stock market returns and significantly below the risk premium you should demand for owning a business. The jewelry business survives and thrives when differentiated through expertise, specialization, or location, not through generic retail. Understand this distinction before you invest.